Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a moment right now to have a great conversation with Mark Shriver, who's here from Save the Children, which is one of our sponsors that have made all of this possible. Not only are they sponsoring this event, they're going to sponsor an event for us at the DNC. And
Yes.
so we really, really appreciate you taking time to talk to us about the great work that you're doing there.
Thank you.
If you all aren't aware of everything we have planned for the RNC the rest of the week, we want to encourage you to go to axios.com/events. There's more information on there about what all we have happening, which is all subject to change. There might be some new programming happening, so just make sure you stay there, even if you've checked it as recently as this morning. Also want to encourage you to sign up for our newsletters, the AM newsletter and the sneak peek. There's lots of information in there about what all is happening. But right now, we really, really want to get to the bottom line of what it is that you all are doing and have been doing over the past year. And so I want to start with this, Mark. We know this is Save the Children Action Network's 10th anniversary. Can you tell us a little bit about why Save the Children created SCAN and what the last 10 years have achieved?
So Save the Children Action Network is the advocacy arm of Save the Children. Save the Children was started 100 years ago, has its roots in rural Kentucky, was feeding kids during the Depression, and it was the precursor of the federal lunch program. And what happened was, over the course of really decades, children are often, treated as, you're doing God's work, you're doing great work. Elected officials will say you're doing wonderful work, and they'll nod their heads, and then they don't fund the issues that families, working families, care a lot about, and that impact children disproportionately. So I guess, honestly, Eugene, we just kind of got fed up with it. There are advocacy groups out there for guns, for abortion, for the environment. Who's doing that for kids? And that's what Save the Children Action Network was started 10 years ago, and we want to be the voice working across with other partners on behalf of kids to actually, when the senator just talks about all the things that are bipartisan and things that can pull the country together, there is no better issue than early childhood education and making sure that kids in America are fed. The polling numbers are outrageously high for supporters of President Biden, for former President Trump, and for independents. But too often we just, that's that issue of early childhood education, childcare, and feeding families just gets pushed to the back burner. And we want to raise that visibility, and we're hoping you guys will cover it more. And we're hoping the people that are watching this, that are in politics, that work for members of Congress, that are advocacy groups, realize that kids need a voice. And that's what Save the Children Action Network is. It is a voice for kids that are not giving political dollars, and they're not old enough to vote. So that's why we're in business.
So you mentioned polling numbers. I know you all recently completed a national poll to explore the cost of living challenges families are facing, particularly as it impacts children. Yes. Was there anything particularly special or unique that stood out for you this time?
I've been kind of talking on this issue. I was in the legislature of Maryland 100 years ago, and we've been talking about these issues, and they are bipartisan. The thing that's most stunning about the poll that we just did, which was done by Republicans and a Democratic polling company that talked to over 1,000 people across the country, is that these issues matter to people, to working families. They matter to Republicans, to Democrats, and independents, yet the political leadership does not make this a priority. That's the thing that's most surprising to me. And it's across the spectrum. It's not just urban settings, it's rural America, very strong support in rural America, in urban settings and in suburban areas, but we have not figured out how to get that message out and to find enough political leadership on the federal level that'll push these issues. Save the Children Action Network, Eugene, has done a really good job in states. When you look at the rollout of early childhood education in places like New Mexico, or under Governor Lujan Grisham, or in Vermont under Governor Scott, or in Colorado under Governor Polis, Governor Inslee up in Washington State. They're all different governors, different parties, and they have realized that this issue, early childhood education and feeding families, resonates with voters, and it's good policy. It brings people together. I was just talking to a friend the other day who's polling this in rural Alaska, and it's a really popular issue in rural Alaska, the issue of childcare and investment in that and feeding kids.
A lot of the programming for helping kids who are in need in this country focuses on like urban youth. You all have done a lot of work with the rural youth, maybe exclusively. Can you talk to us a bit about some of the challenges like kids in rural America face that may be unique?
Yeah, when you look, Eugene, at how kids are doing in rural America, there's more, the obesity issues are higher. The threat of dying before their 18th birthday is higher. The educational attainment is lower. All of the indicators are worse in rural America, and so many nonprofits in this country focus in urban areas, and it makes sense because it's, it's a better ROI. You can reach more kids. It costs less money to do that. But Save the Children was started in rural Kentucky, is still working in rural Kentucky and across the country as well. We want to focus on that and try to raise the investments for kids across the country, including obviously urban and suburban areas. But too often in America, rural America has been forgotten. So that impacts both Republicans, Democrats, and independents. And there are a lot of people in rural America. You know, just look at Walton, Walmart. I mean, they're making a lot of money selling to people in rural America. And Save the Children and Save the Children Action Network have support for that work in rural America.
What are some like very clear policy solutions to the problems that kids in rural America are facing?
Should ask the senator that. I mean, yeah, you can get them back in here. I mean, you know, there are tax credits that have been discussed, under former President Trump and under President Biden. There's also the issue about investing in programs that have a track record of success, early childhood Head Start, but also home visiting programs as well for kids 0 to 3. You know, my father started Head Start, so I'm a big believer in it. Not every Head Start program has great results, and the government shouldn't be funding those, but an overwhelming majority of them do good work, and they do prepare our children. First 5 years of life, Eugene, right? 90% of brain growth happens. First 5 years of life, 90% of brain growth happens. Yet as a country, we almost don't invest until a kid enters kindergarten when they're 5 years of age. You ask any businessman or businesswoman what that means. It's a huge loss opportunity. And as a country, we're falling behind our competitors, whether it's India or China or any other country that's investing in early childhood education. Save the Children Action Network is at the forefront of pushing those issues forward, and we hope people that are watching this and in Washington and state capitals will invest in our children.
Awesome. So bottom line, what's the main takeaway you want this crowd to leave here with about the work you all are doing?
I think the main takeaway is that this is a bipartisan issue. Republican voters are supporting early childhood education and taking care of our children and making sure they're fed in this country. It's an economic issue. It makes the country more competitive. Businesses will go into areas that have good early childhood education where kids are fed. I hope the people that are watching this, the staff, the elected officials will realize this is a winner. It'll bring people together. They need to get off the sidelines and lead. Kids don't have a lot of money and they don't vote. So it's easy to ignore them. And it's especially easy to ignore, them if they're in rural America or, because they're poor. But they can succeed if they get an opportunity. We're not asking for handouts here. We're asking for investments in programs that work, investments in policies that work and that can help families raise themselves out of poverty. I mean, ultimately, that's the American dream, right? Give them a good education. And kids, when 90% of the brain growth happens and we're not investing in those first 5 years of life, those kids go into kindergarten, they're so far behind my kids that they're almost never going to make it up. It's really hard. But if we invest, if Axios continues to shine a light on this, if public policy leaders on both the Republicans or Democrats or independents have the chutzpah to stand up for somebody who's not going to vote for them for years and are not going to make political investments, then the country's going to be in a better place. That's why everybody should join Save the Children Action Network.
Well, we thank you for joining us right now, Mark, and for you all sponsoring this event and sharing with our guests the important work you all are doing.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Appreciate
and we want you all to stay with us. We have at least 2 more events that we hope you leave here with some insight on. And as I said, if you're not following Axios.com/events, we really want to challenge you to do that. Awesome.
Thank you.